Barbenheimer, or is it Barbieheimer? I forget exactly.
I think it's Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer? Griffin, come in my ear and tell me what it is.
I think it's Barbenheimer.
Let's go ahead and put this up
Sounds
there on
right.
the screen while I'm awaiting. It is Barbenheimer. Okay, all right. So the weekend box office, the two, Barbie and Oppenheimer, combining for their fourth highest domestic weekend of all time. Wow. And the best summer weekend on record, the first big smash since April of 2019, led by Avengers Endgame. So this is a full return to pre-pandemic movie levels. It's an extraordinary blockbuster in terms of the combination for the two for Warner Brothers Studios. And this actually does show you that event movies, that strategy around them, can still work. And the reason I love it is neither of these are a damn franchise, Krystal. Neither of these are a sequel. They're both original scripts. And no matter what you think of them, I know you didn't like the Barbie movie. I did see both. I pulled off the vaunted double feature. I saw Oppenheimer in the morning, Barbie at night. The ability to compel big audiences, big cultural moments on original scripts with studded casts is something that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. You know, originally we thought Top Gun was a savior of the movies, and I still think Tom Cruise did a tremendous service, you know, to people. But at the same time, like, Maverick is a #2 movie. Avatar, sequel. Both big event movies. All the Marvel ones that have come out in the last 2 years are garbage, in my opinion, especially Ant-Man. But these original scripts, one is a freaking 3-hour biopic. You know, the other is, you know, connects to some cultural touchstone in terms of Barbie, like something which is a household name, but still the ability to compel people to the theater. This is something people have been waiting to see for a long time. A return to like an actual original script, studded cast, the bet that marketing and making it a cultural touchstone and all of that actually can work. I think it's a big deal for the movies. I'm really happy to see it.
I do too. Yeah. In fact, it's so rare now that there's any one like cultural tentpole, like touchstone thing that's happening. It was kind of extraordinary to see. You know, I was traveling with my mom in St. Louis when we saw Barbie, and when we came back, the hotel front desk, they wanted to talk to us about like everybody wanted to talk to us about what we'd seen and whether which one of the movies we'd seen and what we thought about it and whether they were going to go see it or not. And it's just been a long time since there was like a sort of unifying monocultural moment. So that was extraordinary to see. I think your point about the fact that these weren't just like tired retreads of Fast and Furious 85 or whatever, that they actually took a little bit of risk here. I think especially with Oppenheimer. I mean, Barbie is such a known brand and known quantity, and it's Barbie core aesthetic is having a moment and all of that stuff, that to me, that one is less of a risk. But Oppenheimer, you know, this weighty, lengthy, historical piece, that's quite a significant risk. And it's the type of risk that you just don't see movie studios taking all that often. At the same time, it's also a bit of a last hurrah, at least for a while, because as you know, actors and writers are out on strike indefinitely. It appears, from what we can tell from the outside, and I don't know if you guys checked out our interviews with Ron Perlman and Susan Sarandon, and also another woman, Michelle Hurd, who is on the negotiating committee. It appears that the negotiations are not going well and that they're not anywhere close to coming to terms, and the actors at least feel like there is a whole lot at stake in these negotiations. So put this up on the screen from the New York Times. I mean, it may be quite a while before we have, you know, another sort of big blockbuster weekend like this. They say Barbenheimer is a huge Hollywood moment. Maybe the last for a while. Big launch of Barbie and Oppenheimer should have been a celebratory moment, but an industry on pause has darkened the mood. And this really comes down to, you know, a lot of what we were talking about in the sort of tech section of the show, that the business model has so changed and the stakes for actors and writers are so high in terms of being able to make sure that they are able to participate in the future success, even to a small degree, going forward, that you could see this strike dragging out for quite some time.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's always the caveat that we have to give. It's also, you know, there's some interesting stuff that's kind of happening behind the scenes. I saw that many Hollywood stars are very concerned that their brand is going to take a dump on the Q-score. Q-score is like their, what is it, like the way that people feel about you in terms of, anyway. for like advertisers, stuff like that. They're the ones who predominantly. So they are all thinking about ways to become TikTok influencers, and they're going to lean very heavily into like Instagram content and to YouTube content and all that to keep themselves culturally relevant and still in the public eye. So things very much, I think, are going to move, towards the whole creator sphere. But it's also going to be difficult for them because they can't violate, the SAG guidelines in terms of promoting old work and stuff like that. We also found, Krystal, this map. If people want to take a look in terms of the cultural difference between who liked Barbie or not. Can we put this up there on the screen, please? So this shows an electoral map on the left showing Democrats and Republicans that are basically hard red states, hard blue states, along with the favorability rating of is Oppenheimer trending or is Barbie trending in the states of the U.S. And I don't know, Krystal, what do you make of this?
I mean, okay.
And let's explain for the people who are watching.
Oh, so first of all, just a caveat that we pulled these off of Reddit and have not verified them ourselves.
That's right.
So, but figured it was low stakes enough for us to talk over without actually going in and state by state checking that this was accurate. However, you cannot help but notice a stunning similarity between the electoral map. The red states were Barbie states overwhelmingly. I mean, the way it matches up is actually pretty stunning. The blue states that went for Joe Biden in 2020 were much more likely to be Oppenheimer states. And then the other thing that is crazy is there were a few states, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which of course are all key swing states. Were perfectly split between Barbie and Oppenheimer. Now, there are a few outliers. So Wyoming, not a swing state, but also was evenly divided. Nebraska, not really a swing state. And Georgia, even though it was a Biden state this time around, it was also a Barbie state. So it's not like it lines up 100%. But I do think it's pretty funny, pretty remarkable. And I guess I feel like Oppenheimer probably appeals to a more NPR type crowd.
I was exactly about to say. Let's
start.
Let's
the college educated. Well, although I feel like the college educated white lib also probably loved Barbie more than anyone else. But in the audience that I was in this working class black neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri, people didn't come to Barbie for the some sort of radical feminist message. They brought their little girls in Barbie merch because their little girls love Barbie, and so. And they hated the movie, by the way. They were appalled and about to revolt by the end of this movie because I don't think it was what they expected. They thought this was going to be, a fun kids movie. It was wildly inappropriate because I'll save my commentary for my monologue. But to me, that's more of Barbie is the widespread mainstream cultural touchstone, product. And so, and Oppenheimer is, the historical think piece. So yeah, I think it's more of an NPR crowd that goes to Oppenheimer. And so it would make some sense to me that it's the more liberal states that are into it.
I was thinking that. I was thinking it's possible. I also was wondering whenever it comes to the R rating on Oppenheimer, I'm well, maybe then, the less children that you have, or the more childless, then you're probably more likely to see Oppenheimer first, like me. Or, if you do have kids, if you're gonna go see one movie, then your kids are gonna be no, we're going to go see the Barbie movie. I saw a lot of people, parents who were want to see Oppenheimer, but, got these three to contend with. It was their three children.
Don't take your three kids to Barbie either, by the way.
Yes, well, we'll let that PSA go out there. So I think that might be one explanation. I mean, who knows? There's a lot that's going on here. I just think it's fun that we all have something that we can discuss.
Debate.
It's been a long time, since, I'm trying to think, and especially even if you look at the data that was in this box office this box office pro piece that we were looking at. So for example, the previous big weekends that happened were Avengers Endgame, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Avengers Infinity War. So we've got, franchises in every single one of basically all Disney products. In terms of Barbie is actually the number 5 July opening of all time. Number 1 was the 2019 The Lion King. Terrible reboot. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh, really? I haven't even seen it.
It's the live action one. It's awful.
Yeah. I like the live action Aladdin.
I don't like live action Disney. It just feels cheap to me. I'm
really?
Give me a freaking original script. 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. 2012, The Dark Knight Rises, and then 2008, The Dark Knight. So 2 Christopher Nolan properties. Number 5 below there.
Impressive.
Also, in terms of the all-time list, other ones that previously had done well were Catching Fire, Rogue One. Man, Rogue One was a great movie, as much as I don't like some of these like big reboots. And then also The Hunger Games and Captain Marvel. So whenever we start to look at it, within that context, clearly these are doing very well. The other fascinating thing here is that Barbie's audience was 65% female compared to most other big openings. Very rare. Even Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, Little Mermaid had 68%, but Beauty and the Beast only was able to draw 60. And for Captain Marvel and for Wonder Woman, even so-called like female-centric films, those were almost 50-50 in terms of female and male audience.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. Griffin messages, and he follows the LA Hollywood stuff closer than certainly I do, that studios are gonna fill in the gap during the strike with terrible shelved movies. So things they already made, but we're like, we can't put this out to the public.
Right.
They're gonna be like, well, I guess we're gonna pull it off the shelf and put it out to the public after all because we got nothing else. And they're gonna buy more indie films. So that's how they'll kind of fill in the gaps. So
Might be a
that'll
good thing.
Interesting to see.
I love great indie films.
I do want to say, Kyle had a different theory of the Electoral Map, which is because there's been a real conservative backlash against Barbie. Ben Shapiro, like there's been a whole thing around it.
See, that's the thing. Is that actually? I don't
really buy it either in terms of just like normie people and what they're searching for and what movies they're gonna see. I don't buy it either. But that was his instant reaction is like, oh, maybe they're searching for Barbie because they hate Barbie.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Just wanted to throw it out there.
I checked Shapiro's review. It's got 1.1 million views. I mean, that's good for a YouTube video, but that's not like everybody on the
Everybody hates it.
Right? Yeah, I don't think so.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.